arrival of the VIP party of this event. Ladies and gentlemen, a kind request for you to please rise as we are witnessing the arrival of the VIP party to this event. Ladies and gentlemen, to commence the proceedings of this prestigious event by lighting the traditional oil lamp, I would like to invite the President of SLI, Architect Viranjan Kurukulasuriya, immediate past President of the SLI, Architect DH Vijayvardhana, Senior Vice President SLI, Architect Russell Damdeniya, Vice President of SLI, Architect Rohana Bandara Herath, Honorary Secretary of the SLI, Architect Ranjan Suravira, Honorary Treasurer of SLI, Architect Dilumini Dimel, National Conference Committee Chairman, Architect Dr. Senaka Dharmathilaka, Inauguration Committee Chairman, Architect Anuka Vettasinghe, Past President, Architect S.W. Molligoda. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Past President, Architect Planner Deshamani Dr. Surat Vikramasinghe, Past President, Architect Dudley Vass, Past President Architect Professor M. Lalit De Silva. Past President Architect Jayantha Pereira. Past President Architect Chandana Edrisuriya. Past President Architect Ranjan Nadesapillai. Past President Architect Professor Chitra Vedikkara. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you can make way to the traditional oil lamp. Thank you. Many thanks to the VIP party for lighting the traditional oil lamp in order to commence this ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem.
Sundara Siri Bagini
With great power comes great responsibility. An architect is defined by a broad spectrum of responsibilities, as much as unique skills, knowledge, and expertise that this profession is gifted with. The wide array of moral social obligations that are encountered by the architect at professional, communal, national, and global scales are part of an inevitable duty towards the greater good of society. The architect inherits such social responsibilities as an integral part of the exceptional capabilities acquired through architectural training and education. It is the sacred duty of a profession or a professional who is entrusted with much social faith to serve humanity.
As humans evolve as a complex species and emerge out of the forest, only to create man-made jungles of their own habitat. As these habitats sprawl in size and scale, chaos set in. This chaos and confusion escalates as inhabitants compete for scarce resources of physical space and prominence in the spaces they occupy. Distinct groups within the inhabitants compete jointly as well as individually for their place in this concrete jungle. Amid this chaos and confusion emerges the unifying source who will help restore balance and order through the skills, abilities, and knowledge of controlling and manipulating space and form to bring justice to all inhabitants in finding their place, their fair share of resources needed to sustain themselves and to afford symbolic expression that define their existence among their surroundings. Architect 2021 Inauguration Ceremony of the 39th Annual Sessions by Sri Lanka Institute of Architects.
A very good evening to all of you ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the inauguration of the 39th Annual Sessions of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects. The theme this year being the social responsibility of the architect, and that is the theme that will run through the sessions this time. An announcement before we begin the proceedings. In concern for your safety and the safety of the others around you, we kindly request all of you at the audience to adhere to the restrictions and guidelines implemented to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Lend us your support by keeping your mask on at all times and maintaining physical distance for the duration of this event. And lastly, at the end of the event, to leave the venue at your earliest possible. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my pleasure to call on the President of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects, Architect Viranjan Kurukulasuriya, to make the welcome address.
Good evening, members of the Council, past presidents, award-winning architects, new fellow members, members of the Institute, ladies and gentlemen, and especially those who are watching us online. Welcome to this event that was never going to be. But finally, we are here to inaugurate the annual sessions of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects. We had to make some drastic changes to the usual format because of the health guidelines and some applicable limitations. The inauguration ceremony that incorporates the presentation of scrolls to new fellow and associate members and special awards to students who excelled in their performance was actually held a few hours ago in the presence of their parents. So our inauguration is much shorter. Then again, our national conference to be held tomorrow will be entirely an online event. Again, made shorter because we are taking advantage of better time management capabilities of online activities. The exhibition of members' work and trade had to be postponed. But a new activity that will be effective throughout the year in the form of an architect trade portal will be launched on Friday, the 19th of February. Our annual general meeting will happen at 5 venues simultaneously using the most sophisticated of audiovisual technology. As you can see, the pandemic forcefully thrust us into high-tech mode, and in a way it is all for the better. The number of participants at all events has risen significantly, and more involvement of members means better decision making and higher levels of inclusion. In fact, the number so far registered for the annual general meeting has exceeded 600, which is the highest registered so far in the SLIA history. So let us not be disheartened, but be happy that we organized an improved annual sessions event in spite of adverse conditions. Back to the present event, the inauguration. This evening we will celebrate the achievements of our members, the architecture they produced, the service they rendered to the Institute, and also their lifelong achievements. We are happy that we have the opportunity to admire and record for posterity what they created and did. And in the following few days, we plan the future. So ladies and gentlemen, I warmly welcome you to the inauguration ceremony of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects annual sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Viranjan Kurukulasuriya, the President of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects, for warmly welcoming us all to this event. And I would like to invite the Chairman of the National Conference Committee of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects annual sessions for the year 2021, Architect Dr. Senaka Dharmatilaka, to present this year's theme.
Hi, good evening. A warm welcome again to introduce the theme on the uh, uh, national conference that conducted by the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects. So as you see, for 2021, we have selected a theme, a very appropriate theme called the social responsibility of the architect. And at the same time, we have selected a matching catchphrase or a slogan, a tagline that reads as, "With great power comes great responsibility." Of course, from face value, although we may think we plucked it off the Marvel comics uh, in order to avoid the assumption that we have plucked a very light-hearted tagline from entertainment media. I thought I'll get these very serious-looking faces on screen. So this, the phrase, "the possession of great power necessarily implies great responsibility." Now, apart from its biblical references, has been in secular politics since 1700s, 1790s, during the French Revolution, when this became part of a decree by the French National Convention. Of course, it was also in the early 1800s, the British politician William Lamb, who later became the Prime Minister and became known as Lord Melbourne, expounded on this phrase in a debate in the House of Commons. Of course, not to be closely followed in the early 1900s by the British politician, the Prime Minister who led Britain through the World War II, Winston Churchill, and of course a couple of US presidents, Franklin D. Roosevelt as well as Theodore Roosevelt, and one of the most significant presidents to expound on this phrase, Harry Truman, who of course adhered to it in terms of stabilizing his European allies against the potential Eastern expansion, and through the Marshall Scheme as well as the NATO. And I always admire this phrase being used by scientists and theorists of science who look at the moral influence of scientific education. That's what leads to our usage of this theme in this conference. And although this was made popular in recent times by the late creative director Stan Lee of Marvel Productions, the underlying meaning of this phrase is to emphasize that when an individual is gifted with extraordinary abilities and capabilities to serve ideals which are larger than the self-interest, which are noble in nature, that it is the moral obligation of this individual to serve those ideals in a selfless manner. So the architect's role and tasks are defined in terms of moral responsibilities as well as legal responsibilities, and it is the moral responsibilities that instigate us to reach and serve higher ideals, to champion noble causes that serve the broader humanity in a selfless manner. And as we are quite aware how starting from the younger periods or the formative periods, the architect is gifted with so much of capabilities and knowledge through education as well as the architectural training, which makes the architect capable of facing the challenges of contemporary society. And it is with these exceptional capabilities that the architect inherits as an integral part of his capabilities the duty to serve humanity. So we see this moral responsibilities in various levels of the architect's engagement and encountering of day-to-day challenges in terms of professional scale, communal scale, regional scale, national scale, and global scale. So we explore this sacred duty of a professional who is invested with much social faith to serve humanity through the recognition of his abilities. Talking about responsibilities, I'll be failing in my responsibility if I do not acknowledge one of our finest who helped design this logo, who managed to kind of put all this, put the ideal into one single picture by superimposing two triangles on top of each other in an abstract manner to symbolize a winged superhero with a heart, where you see where he expounds the idealism behind this symbol in terms of how capabilities entail or they inherit compassion in a human being, such as the architect. And finally, I'll come to the sub-themes that we deal with under this broader topic of social responsibility. So we look at the sub-themes in terms of the planet, in terms of the nation state, and the broader society. So at a planetary scale, the architect as a global citizen would champion the ideals of sustainability in terms of energy efficient building design, as well as restructuring of urban scapes to mitigate urban sprawl and to ensure energy efficient and cost effective distribution of infrastructure, the physical infrastructure as well as social infrastructure, and also looking at how the architects strive to review the traditional methods of construction in avoiding construction waste and making sure that scarce building material and resources are not wasted in construction by adopting strategies such as prefabrication, modular construction, standardization of elements, etc. So then we come to the scale of the nation state. So at nation state, architect is seen as a professional with who formulates broader scale development schemes for the nation state in terms of geospatial integration and synchronization of different land use patterns. And in doing so, how it is seen how architects are capable of creating harmonious communities through creating public spaces which foster vibrant communal activity, rich human interaction, etc. But also at the same time, the architect is seen as a social engineer who drives the nation state towards national unity. It is through this structuring of communal spaces and meeting spaces where people could congregate and communicate their and discuss their grievances and issues, where communities of different ethno-religious and ethno-social groups could mediate and reconcile their differences in the ideological level without letting them spilling into the physical level as subversive political violence, etc. And also in this broader scale of spatial manipulation, the architect is seen as a champion of spatial justice who ensures social equity by ensuring equal chances and opportunities not only for the large scale businessmen but also for small scale and medium scale entrepreneurs, ensuring the poor segment of the communities would have equal access to affordable housing, how the distances between their spaces of residencies and vocations are optimized so that distance of commuting ensures that these communal pockets do have are availed to affordable transportational costs, etc. So last but not least, we look at the broader realm of humanity, where the architect also plays a key role in preserving memories, preserving elements of cultural heritage, especially the elements related to the tangible as well as intangible culture, and ensures that people are given a sense of belonging in their place of residence and the broader cities they habitate. And also looking at the broader humanity and the compassion emanated by the architect towards this humanity, we look at how the architect would look at specialized areas of serving special needs of physically handicapped, as well as looking at the gender-based difficulties, as well as designing for people of older age groups and the senior citizenry, etc. So these are a few of the broader aspects of responsibility that we will be looking at in terms of 3 sub-themes. So I shall finally, when you look at it, it's this theme itself, if you is quite an ideal theme for the brand new young members who who received their scrolls and who joined our ranks today. A warm welcome to a professional life full of moral obligations, responsibilities, and social obligations. And as we know, the Charter, of course, is not a license to kill, but an obligation to serve. So, and also it's a responsibility to bear. So today, I'm sure most of our young members are watching online. So today, the Republic of Sri Lanka would entrust you with the built environment of its entire nation state to protect and in your capable hands. So literally, you guys become the guardians of this environment, of the built environment. So with that, I'll wind up wishing you all the strength and courage to uphold our ideals, bear our responsibilities with pride, resilience, and honor in the discharge of your duties. Thank you.
For over 130 years, our culture of innovation has shaped the lives of millions. Building better, brighter, and happier lives, full of color and opportunities. It all stems from breakthrough research, meticulously developed by leading scientists and chemists at our world-leading facilities. We're all part of a diverse family who, together, make Nippon Paint Asia's #1 paint and coatings manufacturer, offering a complete paint and coating solution for total peace of mind. We're a Pan-Asian family unified and driven by our lean for growth culture of vigilance, insatiable appetite, teamwork, agility, leanness, stamina, allowing us to lead from the front of the pack. Corporate responsibility is ingrained in our DNA, promoting sustainability and developing skills, because people have always been at the heart of our company. Together, we strive for a sustainable business that positively impacts lives. Our ingenuity flows through every drop of the billion liters of paint and coatings we produce every year, adding color to all the industries we supply through strong distribution, and in turn enriched the lives of millions around the world. We continue to set new standards in coatings for motor vehicles. Our protective coatings sustain and enhance the performance of bridges, ships, fuel pipes, and chemical tanks. By offering developers and architects a variety of highly durable and weather-resistant options, we make it possible to realize their ambitions. And for our consumers, we strive to deliver the best end-to-end solutions, including design services to perfectly complement our products. We are Nippon Paint. We harness the brilliance of innovation We inspire the lives of millions now and for decades to come.
You should be proud of your country, where the richest offerings of nature are turned into a finer form through pure craftsmanship. And I'm not talking about the sapphire on my ring.
Lanka Tiles, the Sri Lankan tile with a global following.
There's a thing from your country that I'm totally hooked on. And I am not talking about your tea.
Lanka Tiles, the Sri Lankan tile with a global following.
Let the beauty and light of nature come cascading into your home. With world-class aluminium profiles for all modern door and window designs. Introducing Lumin for doors and windows from Almax. Multifunction custom designs, quick and efficient installation, modern and elegant finish, long-lasting use. Lumin. Invite light.
Swisstech Aluminium is one of Sri Lanka's leading extrusion manufacturers since 2009. Since entering the aluminium extrusions industry, Swisstech Aluminium Limited has within a short span of time established itself as one of Sri Lanka's premier aluminium extrusion manufacturers. The company manufactures a range of aluminium profiles, including prefabricated windows, bathroom doors, multipurpose ladders, pantry cupboards, partitions, and many more. Acceptance of the perfect finish of our carefully crafted products are increasing relentlessly to its market leadership. The company's state-of-the-art plant in Dompe, with a production capacity of 1,000 metric tons per month, continues to enhance its product range, focused on sustainability and continued research, development, and innovations. Each year, Swisstech Aluminium generates millions of dollars to the national economy, and our main markets are the UK and Europe. We are striving to be the most innovative, reliable, and sustainable aluminium-based solutions provider of the region. We are Swisstech Aluminium.
Ladies and gentlemen, those were some short video presentations from our sponsors, and on behalf of the SLIA, I would like to extend our gratitude to those sponsors and for their support in making this event a success. Ladies and gentlemen, we would now like to introduce to you the next session, the keynote session for today, for this evening. Our keynote speaker for this evening, Architect Professor Thana Chirapuat and Architect Tony Wong. And I will be giving a short introduction to the presentations that they will be presenting to you as the keynote session this evening. COVID-19 is a pandemic and seemingly a medical issue, but the built environment is critical to the solution to manage it. Architects' social responsibility is to contribute to this effort, as this is unprecedented, a set of guidelines to help not only architects, but also the public, other building professionals, and policymakers on what we can do about our built environment would be most useful as part of architects' contribution to the society. The Acacia, a regional council of National Institute of Architects in Asia, stepped up and developed such guidelines. Professor Thana Chirapuat from Thailand and architect Tony Wong are two of the co-authors of the above-mentioned guidelines. They are here to share with you the background and guidelines themselves. They are also here to highlight as to how these guidelines to be implemented here in Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure I invite our keynote speakers for this evening, Architect Dr. Tana Chirapuat and architect Tony Wong to present their keynote sessions, and they will be doing this through an online platform. Good evening to you, gentlemen.
Evening.
Good evening.
Okay, let me share the screen for you. Okay. All right. Thank you, Farah. And good evening, SLIA members and honorable guests tonight. First of all, Tony and I would like to thank SLIA President, Architect Viranjan Kulsurya, and the team of SLIA Inauguration Committee for inviting us to participate in this SLIA annual inauguration ceremony. We truly appreciate SLIA's effort to carefully organize this gathering amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. And secondly, I would like to briefly introduce myself. I'm an architect in Thailand and a member of the Association of Siamese Architects under Royal Patronage, and a vice president of the Thai City Planners Society. Currently, I teach and chair the graduate program in urban planning at Silpakorn University in Bangkok and run a firm specialized in urban design and urban planning. The topic that Tony and I will present today appropriately follow SLIA's theme of the year, Guardian of the Built Environment, with great power come great social responsible architects. The presentation is on Acacia COVID-19 guidelines, which is the work of Acacia Committee on Social Responsibility, or ACSR. And now it is published as a book. This book is a result of over 10 months of ACSR, of which architect Russell Dedenier of SLIA is the chairperson, and Acacia Emergency Architects, or AEA, of which architect Tony Wong of HKIA is the director. Here is the book, which is finalized in December 2020 and officially published this month. SLIA members are the very first group of people who have access to this book. Please scan this QR code or capture the screen so that you can have later access to read it online on the ebook platform issue.com. Since COVID-19 outbreak started in late 2019, the spread and then spread out to many parts of the world in early 2020. Cities and countries began to lock down. Lives were disrupted. Developed countries such as UK and US show that they are vulnerable and badly suffering with the COVID-19. ACSR, which is a collection of group of social responsibility delegates from Institute of Architects of Acacia member countries, foreseen much more serious issues of the pandemic on the most fragile group of society. As a result, we started to do research on guidelines from various official sources and found that there are information scattering bits and pieces that could be difficult for a person to pick out parts that are appropriately applied to their situation. ACSR and AEA jointly set up a task force to review these guidelines in order to consolidate and simplify them for our Asian region by focusing on practical use of the guideline to improve health and wellness of the people and the health of the built environment. Now, many of you may wonder, who are ACSR and AEA? Let me take a couple of minutes to introduce the ACSR, AEA, and also Acacia to you. ACSR is Acacia Committee on Social Responsibility, which is one of the 5 committees under Acacia, or Architects Regional Council Asia. The 5 committees are social responsibility, professional practice, architecture education, green and sustainable architecture, and also young architects. Here is a picture of Acacia Council members taken in Acacia Forum 2019 in Dhaka, Bangladesh, hosted by the Institute of Architects, Bangladesh, with President Rita So in the middle. And we have Vice President of 3 zones. Zone A cover South Asia, Zone B, Southeast Asia, and Zone C, the East Asia. And also the committee chairperson, ACSR, Russell here, and ACPP, Professional Practice, Young Architects, Green and Sustainable Architecture, and the Architecture Education.
ACAE, not AEA.
ACAE, yeah. And the director of AEA here.
That's me.
You can access acacia.org website for further information. And this is the map of the 21 member countries of Acacia. ACSR and AEA usually meet twice a year. These are the photo of the last 2 meetings that we could physically be together. The top one is from what we call the ACSR Roundtable meeting in Hong Kong in September 2019. This one was hosted by the HKIA. And the bottom one is the annual council committee meeting in Dhaka, Bangladesh in November 2019 as well. So, ACSR meetings, SLIA had hosted a few of the ACSR meetings in the past, and we hope that you will host more in the future, and we thank you in advance for that. Back to COVID-19 response by ACSR. Once the impact of the COVID-19 expanded to our home, in April 2020, ACSR and AEA Task Force issued a survey to collect data from architects of the 21 Acacia countries. We asked questions on how COVID-19 impacted their work, how they operate and manage the lockdown situation, with help, what help do they need, and what technology emerged to facilitate their working and their living. These are some examples of the answer we received. Question number 3 on what are architects working on or being involved to fight against COVID-19. The results show that architects have been trying to do many things altogether, particularly doing services to community, including relief works, preparing guidelines, and community initiatives, even providing financial assistance. Question number 4, we asked what architects offering and volunteering. We found that architects, again, involved more in immediate and long-term relief efforts, research and campaign services, and preparing guidelines. Question number 5 was about what architects need. The biggest need that we found were the financial assistance and knowledge sharing and training on healthcare facility design and construction. The last example from the survey is from question number 6. What and how technology can help architects to improve and create healthy built environment for society. Technology to support remote design collaboration and construction, and Internet of Things are among the top answers. From the results of the survey, ACSR and AEA Task Force brainstorm on what to do and come up with a roadmap aiming to develop COVID-19 guidelines, which are comprehensive and practical through collective efforts from architects and other experts, starting with reviewing the existing guidelines from various sources of organizations and authorities in order to sort out and compile relevant guidelines. These relevant guidelines from existing ones were further reviewed, validated, and added by a panel of experts from multiple disciplines, including architecture, city planning, medical, sociology, heritage, and policy making. along with ACSR representative from Acacia countries on an online workshop that we had in September 2020. And the draft guidelines were revised and edited. This improved guideline were later reviewed in an open forum we call the webinar in November 2020. And from the result from that webinar help us to finalize the guideline to 13 points, as known as the 13 ACGs, and finally published. This 13 ACGs book will soon be accessible to download from acacia.org website. The next step is to disseminate the document and assisting Acacia member institute to implement the guidelines, aiming to effectively transform built environment to support sustainably healthier life. The 13 ACG includes the following. Number 1 to number 4 here relate to adapting existing and creating new building and spaces. Number 5 involve knowledge sharing and creating awareness. Number 6 and number 7 are about operating and managing built environment. Number 8 focuses specifically on building and retrofitting medical and healthcare facilities. Number 9 and number 10 regarding regulation and reviews of both building and city planning. Number 11 to 13 cover broader aspect of socio-cultural and urban, rural, healthy environment for living. The 13 SDGs was developed from a framework to be comprehensive, that is to cover essential aspects of built environments that affects the health of the people. Therefore, there are 4 dimensions of the guideline framework, including physical dimension from small to large one. These are homes, neighborhood, and city, and public and private domain from of physical spaces. And then taking care of a stakeholder. The guideline aim to be used by architects, policymakers, and general public. And the last aspect is the implementation aspect, which are in short-term and long-term implementation. To illustrate the framework dimension of 13 ACGs, here is the infographic representing the built environment from private home to neighborhood, community center, and open space, and the city infrastructure and services here. And so the 13 guidelines, which are represented in these boxes here, also associated with a particular group of stakeholders, for example, for architects and for the public, for policymaker and city planner, and for policy and management wise, for the policymaker. And this is my introduction to the background, ideas, and process and framework that ACSR and AEA Task Force developed and proceed to create the 13 ACG. From this point on, architect Tony Wong, the director of AEA and the co-author of the 13 ACGs, will go over the guideline in more detail. The stage is yours now, Tony.
Thank you very much, Tana. Thank you. Before I go into the 13 ACGs in greater detail and about how we implement it, let me first of all thank you SLA for inviting us. President Kurukula Surya, past SLA presidents, Dr. Senaka, Architect Dadania, honorable guests, and award recipients and participants. Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Tony Wong. I'm from Hong Kong. I'm a fellow member of the Hong Kong Institute of Architects. I'm an architect by training, but actually have been working for the last 30 years managing properties for Fortune 500 companies, corporations, in which emergency management actually was part of my responsibilities. So I have a keen interest in addressing issues similar to what we are doing now. I intend to go through the very high level of 13 ACGs because I've only got about 15, 20 minutes. And there is no way I can go through all the one in details because there are many examples and many things behind it. So I will not go to specifics as the long, short terms and private public domain. You can all read them in the guidelines, the complete guidelines, which you have access to. Now, the first thing in that we need to understand to address it properly is we have to understand the problem first and how to resolve it before we can translate them into something which is physical. So the first bullet tells you one of the basic principles of how we manage crisis all the time. First of all, we have to usually crisis occurs when the problem is bigger than what you can handle. So problem one is that first of all, you need to reduce the exponential spread of the virus because it will spread very fast, and so we got to control that. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we have enough healthcare facilities to cover them. So this is the thing that we're going to balance it off. So this is one thing, what we call flattening the curve, to try to actually control it in such a manner that our medical facilities can handle it. Bullet 1 and 2. So bullet 3 and 4 is actually, we cannot forget that we need to continue living. Live, work, learn, pray, and play. And also we need to manage the social economic impact of the new situation of reduced physical interaction. So, so this is a balancing act, so to speak. Next slide. Understanding how we can cope with it, we also need to understand what we need to address, focusing on what we can manage. So first of all, this is about the built environment. So we are talking about physical environment to support what are the established behavioral guidances that medical experts already issued, health authority already issued to us. So we're going to support that. The second thing is that we cannot be too specific because there is no one size fit all in doing guidelines. So each country have their own specific circumstances and the uniqueness. So this set of guidelines are general in nature, but pointing in important directions that all the countries should actually develop their own specific guidelines according to those directions. Thirdly, we need to also understand that you can also create a risk-free environment if there is no cost involved. Cost doesn't mean only money. It also means social cost, right? The agony of separating people is not something that money can buy. And also the sustainability side of it. What I'm referring to sustainability is not just about earth sustainability, about conservation or the environment. It's also whether the program can last. As you can see, COVID-19 actually is lasting. So we need to have a program that is sustainable on the long term. And some of the limitation is that we are not going to address practice issue. We're not talking about architecture as a practice, as a business. We talk about architecture as a social responsibility. So we can only control what we can control in the environment. Last but not least, we are going to cover the implementation later on. Thank you, Tana. Next. All right, let's go to the meat of it. Now, in a nutshell, guideline number 1 is about configuration of space, which we are all very good at. So this is about how we configure the spaces to help contain the spread of the virus. Now, the special attention should be placed on these 5 bullets. So number 1, transition space. You can control a lot of things inside your premises, but then if you bring in the contaminants, you cannot. So there need to be transition space where you can clean ourselves and store suspicious objects, which we bring from the outside. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that if you need to accept visitors, you need to have space that screen people to make sure that they are not having a fever. And also you can register the entrance so that whenever it's needed, in case there is, we discover that where you come from actually has proven cases, then we need to be able to trace it. So the screening spaces are for that purpose. Now, there are also the third kind of space which are shared by people. For example, if you have a car park that are shared by everybody in the condominium, or if you have a lift, very common in multi-story buildings, then we need to make sure that everybody going to that space, you know who they are. So identify. So access control to those authorized people is important. The second thing is that you can focus on those limited space and increase frequency and intensity of cleaning. Fourth bullet point goes without saying. It's really about physical distancing and separation. To this, we mean not just distancing between people, not the 1.5 to 2 meters spacing, but also orientation of people, and also about, if necessary, creating separation in terms of semi-full screens that we divide people, right? And last, but certainly not least, is actually being creative. Many, particularly in poorer communities, when space is a premium, this is very typical in Asia communities, we need to think out of the box and think about how we can leverage on space that is outside of the purely private space and make it semi-private, which we can control the entry, exit, and use this for not only for segregating people, but also providing an environment where our people can continue to work, live, play, and pray. Next slide, please. Now, building technologies. So building high-tech buildings, actually, most of our buildings now have some form of technologies. The two technologies that is mostly affected by the spread of the virus, mostly important to the spread of the virus, are the HVAC, which is heating, ventilation, air conditioning system, right? The ventilation system, to put it bluntly, and the drainage system. The HVAC system, this is really about air, because virus is spread through air, droplets, and sometimes prolonged resting on surfaces that we get into touch with. So primarily for the first two, on the droplets and the air, we need to maintain that we can dilute the air, all right? Dilute the potential contaminants through adequate, fresh, clean air. Now the source is important. Where you get the air had to be fresh and clean. And about the amount of air that is enough to make sure it's diluted enough, about where the air comes from, about circulating the air. And at the same time, we need to understand that there are other considerations, like the thermal comfort, humidity, energy conservation. So this is not an easy act, but then we need to consider all these acts with the object in mind is dilution is the key. In terms of drainage, human excretion, the feces, contains much higher concentration of any germs. So if anybody got infected, the virus content is very high. Particularly, usually, drainage systems are in confined spaces. So if somebody has a got infected, the drainage system could be a highway for spreading the disease. So we need to be very careful. What we should be paying attention to in general terms is that all drainage should be well ventilated. But in situation where it's difficult because it's been built in ducts, for example, now we need to make sure that we separate them by making sure the seals are effectively, the traps, we have got a lot of drain traps, are proven and they are sealed properly and effectively. So you can use different kind of seals as well, P-trap, S-trap, and even the W-traps these days. So this is a combination of using appropriate traps and also having the practice of making sure that they're sealed. The third thing is really thinking of the latest technology we developed. So they may or may not be available in different countries, but certainly we need to know. So this technology helps us to avoid having the touch spaces, the touchless experience, so they don't have to touch anything that might be contaminated. It can also be a coating where the virus cannot survive. For example, photocatalytic coating is such a material that you can use so that it can last for a few months, maybe 6 months, that the virus cannot survive on that surface. So these are the things we can explore, particularly in area that we are commonly shared, those spaces. You don't have to put it everywhere, right? But then there's some spaces which are shared, then we need to put a lot more attention. Last but not least, there are tools that we can use to help ourselves design and build better, faster, and cheaper. For example, the way we collaborate with virtual collaboration tools, the use of BIM systems, building information modeling, and also virtual reality, big data, and all those kind of technology aspects we can incorporate and to help us build faster, cheaper, and better. Next slide, please. Number 3, adapting the environment to suit our daily activities. Now, I mentioned earlier on that one of the key things about managing pandemic is that life still has to go on because it's important we have to maintain activities for many reasons, right? For psychological and economic reasons. Now, to do that, there are many ways that we need to look into. The first of all is the capacity and density planning, right? So the capacity and density under the pandemic has to reduce. So we need to actually find another way that we can continue to operate our daily lives. So our daily routine already changing as we go to work or school less frequently than before. And the service delivery model, for example, buying things, right? We have to be different. So we more online than go to physical shops these days. Whereas the shops have to also provide more online services delivery, right? Food services, all the service delivery has to change. So this is the flexibility we have to provide in our facilities in order to cater for the new mode of operation. In the past, maybe there's only desk in the dining desk in the restaurant. Now you have to have a delivery counter, right? So it's slight changes, small changes. Secondly, our home has to change because now we don't go to office or working space as often. We need to continue living and working and learning at home. So our home environment has to also be modified. Thirdly, our spiritual life cannot stop either. So we need to understand how we actually continue to worship and how to continue our normal social, cultural celebrations. For example, we just had Chinese New Year. So usually we go and visit each other. Now that we have to reduce the activity, so there are some online greetings that we're going to exchange. So many things are happening, changes. But we have to be mindful that we cannot stop these things. We should not stop these things for well-being. But instead, we need to think about what we need to do and how to prioritize them. What we do physically, what we don't do physically. The fourth bullet is about time-space sharing. So many organizations already established something called the free address or alternative workplace where we don't have any fixed seats, which means that we are sharing space. At home, we're already sharing space very frequently, like dining table can be changed into a worktop very easily. But in terms of the bigger scale of things, so we really need to look into how we can elaborate it more so that we can actually continue to operate while we have to maintain a much bigger social distancing. Last but not least, in order to make all these operations possible, technology helps us to be able to communicate virtually, but unfortunately, not everybody can have access to this technology. And also the bandwidth may not be adequate for us to cater for the increased activities. So in particular in countries or communities where the internet or the virtual bandwidth is not enough, this is the area that we need to pay attention to, in particular to the poorer communities. Next, please. So really about one thing that we can learn from the medical business is about the flow management to avoid cross-contamination. So goods and people will carry some of these disease, as you know that it's spreading through people's contact and sometimes goods contact. But we need to make life continue. So we need to plan the flow of these things so that they don't cross each other, and we can clean as we move along the activities. So in order to do that, we need to understand what are the clean. Clean doesn't mean really clean. It's just being something which being known or low risk. And for the dirty, which is not really dirty, it's only unknown and high risk items. So we need to manage these carefully. And sometimes we need to show signs so that people understand how to follow this flow. And sometimes managing the delivery location and also creating more storage space will help us reduce the need to conduct these kind of interactions. Next slide, please. This is really about making sure that we've got transparency, because one of the key elements in pandemic control is really people's behavior, right? And people's behavior is the biggest area that we need to manage. As you can see in the news, some countries are very stringent, some countries are very loose, and some countries communicate conflicting messages. Health medicals create are giving messages that perhaps the leadership are contradicting. So that is the worst case you can contain the pandemic. So I think a good communication with clarity, consistency, and transparency will create trust, and we also make people behave the same way. So providing scientific-based, fact-based communication and open to all public is critical to the success. Next slide, please. Another key element to tackle the pandemic is speed. As you understand, the pandemic spread exponentially. Exponentially means the earlier you catch it, the better you can, backwards. Thank you. The earlier you can control it, the better you can contain it. So standard operation procedures help you to react much faster, because these SOPs will enable not only the people addressing the pandemic, but also the people that are subject to the pandemic. They can actually follow the SOP and behave, because as I said, behavior is very important. So the SOP has to be followed and also drilled. People have to be very familiar with it. And this is not only about that, also about the respondent team. So the disinfecting and of the premises and availability of those material in order to do so, storing of those cleaning material and masks, those are the SOP that we need to follow. Next slide. Taking ourselves on a more macro scale, SOP is part of that whole exercise. We should also have a contingency planning process. This is not just SOP. This is really about from understanding the risk, developing the SOP on contingency planning, monitoring the progress of things, and addressing different scenarios of the pandemic. Say, for example, if the one body got a suspicion case, confirmed case, multiple cases, there are different ways of dealing with that. You have to draw up different SOPs to do that. And that is the process that we need to put in place so that we can, each home, company, and community can actually have a way to deal with it. And also importantly, there should be a backup or contingency or alternative location and mode of operation that help prevent service disruption. All right, so I think this is a concept that we architects are not very familiar with, what I would call the emergency management process. And that addresses all kinds of calamities, not just the pandemic. But this is very typical of a pandemic situation that we should not miss. Next slide, please. We spoke about the ability to build medical facilities so that we spoke about we have the capacity that if we do not exceed the capacity, we're okay, we're not in a crisis situation. But as you know, as the pandemic flows, it flows exponentially. So usually we have a problem because our medical facilities cannot manage this. So we need to have the ability also, while we control the spread of the disease, we also have to increase our capability. So now what we should do is to think about what are the things that we can do to increase the capacity. So one of the things we can think of is how do we actually adaptive reuse of certain facilities that are otherwise left unused. For example, if we forbid people to do concerts, then the concert hall can become a place very good for quarantine or for checking. So that has been used very frequently throughout the world in being that. That's just an example. Now, what we should think further ahead is that we actually have to react to that. Why can't we plan it ahead of time? Why can't we actually think about the scenario? And when we design certain buildings, that it can be used for multiple purposes. With the knowledge that we gain through the pandemic now, we also almost know that what are the facilities that can be used for different kind of purposes, right? And the second thing also we need to think about is, as I mentioned before, technology can help us build faster. So how can we actually make use of those technology to help us increase our capacity quickly? So these are the considerations we should have, but we should focus on how do we improve the medical facilities quickly. Next slide, please. Now, the next two are really about the established rules and regulations, that the standards that we already established, and the need to review them. Now, existing regulations are designed for the current norm, for what we know, right? And they are usually very restrictive and rigid because they want to manage. They want to govern instead of they want to allow people to go on their own. But then this is a different scenario, completely different scenario. Not only to address the current situation, but we know that COVID-19 has brought very, very profound impact that they change our lives forever. So I think the review is definitely necessary to look at what we do, not only about a new norm, but what about reoccurrence? So the reoccurrence is actually quite scary. If we don't plan it, then we will have to suffer another blow again. So we don't want to make the mistakes twice. So the next one is really not just about the building regulations. The next slide, please. Other than just focusing on building and talking to policymakers about the change of regulations, we also need to look at how we plan our cities and urban design. Now, to make a control of pandemic successful, we really need to look at the city as a whole, from micro scale, from interior to macro scale to the city itself, and in between, urban design. So the new balance of the sustainability should be a review of all the scales that we look at, the relationship between buildings, the planning of communities, whether they are self-sufficient enough so that response can be fast. So there are many things that we need to look at. But one point I want to make is that this should not be a government-only effort, because we can all actually contribute to that. All meaning any corporations, any community ourselves, property developers, can all actually focus on this. So this is a time when we all have to think outside the box. Next. Health and well-being is, some people say, it's common sense. Why do we have to repeat it again? Shouldn't everybody be doing that? But sadly, we have building regulations and standards, but as we all know, not everybody is living in that environment. Many has been ignored or being compromised because of economic reasons. I'm really talking about those lower income communities where actually they don't have the right hygiene standards, and also in the infrastructure like connectivity and utilities, they are very lacking. And there are a group of people who are vulnerable. For example, in the COVID-19 case, it's about the sick people, the people having chronic disease, and also the older generation, the most vulnerable. They are already impacted by limitation in terms of mobility because of the restriction of access under COVID-19. So we propose that we need to provide health and well-being up to the standard that everybody can enjoy, not just following what we currently have, in order to reduce the mortality of COVID-19. So that covers not only the physical side, but also on psychological side. So we need to look at building a good living environment. Well-being is not just about hygiene and other things, it's also about our psychological well-being. Next. Again, social cultural aspect, I think I mentioned it before. So this is almost like a repeat, but this time we're focusing on social cultural aspects and reiterated again that we should continue, and also making sure that they continue in a way that despite the lack of physical interaction, they can still sustain. So I will, for example, I mean, the gathering had to be reduced, and gathering has to be in a well-controlled manner. Avoid close confined spaces, rituals are contactless, and also avoid activities like eating that will require us to remove our personal protection. Thank you. The last but not least, this is a trend that we fear, or actually we are thinking that might actually happen. It's really about urban and rural migration. The change of economic situation, I mean, I know urbanization is really something we know that has been swinging to urbanization. We have more than half the population now living in the cities. So this is a trend. But we believe that with the COVID-19 situation, this has to be rethink. And sometimes it may be slowed down or even reversed, because we might think that the more rural community might help us mitigate the kind of similar pandemic better. Now, this is not proven yet, but I think we mark it here as a warning, or as a precaution that we might have to start considering that before the trend caught us. So these are the 13 ACGs. They are broad in nature. So we need to further develop it. So how? So let's move on to the implementation. Next slide, please. You've seen this slide, similar slide. Tana posted before. It's actually started in May, not from June, but from May, when we had our first meeting. It's a meeting of representatives from each country. And then we, after the meeting, we decided actually to write the guidelines, right? So we have gone through 10 months of work. Guidelines is now here. We need to put it to the countries. This is where we are now. Next slide, please. So what we've done in December to February, this last few months, is that we have finished the guideline, share the recordings, presentation, and all the Acacia members should have this guideline. It's probably not in the final form, but the content is the same. And it's been endorsed by the OB. And it is going to be, hopefully, endorsed by the council in 2 weeks' time. So after it's been approved by the council, this is official. So we have actually established all the needs, all the prepared for really launching it and publishing it in both, next slide please, hard and soft form. So in 2 weeks' time. So we distribute them to all the countries, and also there's a promotion campaign already in place. And as part of the exercise, we're going to do a roadshow to all the institutes. So this is actually I would say, a quick start of the exercise before it's official by the council. I don't believe they're going to reject it because OB has already approved it. So I'm pretty confident that it will not be rejected. It's a meaningful thing. And what we want to have, the purpose of this meeting is really to create an understanding of the 13 ACG. So this is what we've done so far, just an understanding. We hope that the Institute could have a commitment to review it in detail, have a team to look at it, understand it, adopt it, and adapt it, and write something specific to your country, note it out to the architects, policymakers, and local population in your country. So this is a pretty big task. So we say a year is not an underestimate, okay? And we also like to solicit local examples to see how actually, and sharing them, how we can demonstrate ACGs can be done appropriately and effectively, addressing the social, cultural, geographical, economic context of so many different countries. And obviously, we should need them to be translated into the local languages so that it can be publicized to the public. Next slide, please. Okay, so hopefully, this is something we are contemplating to happen, is that we can create a community where we can discuss online and utilize the communities to start exchanging, communicating, and promoting the 13 ACGs, and also to extend it to other professionals. Now, these are big goals. I'm not sure whether it can be successful or not, but then it's worth a try. I hope that we can get your support that you can participate in this exercise and help us and join us actually in making this guideline more perfect, more useful, more practical, and also influence other stakeholders to participate in this exercise. Next slide, please. The first wave, now we got 21 countries. Now these are the countries identified to be the first phase. Now, of course, there can be many more as we talk to the countries individually. Some may want to jumpstart, some may want to delay, but at least we started Malaysia and Sri Lanka now. Thank you. Next slide. Now, this is the Acacia map. So I want to remind you about all the Acacia member institutes. SIA and PAM, these two countries, are actually established for quite some time. They're not the youngest, not the oldest, but you took the lead in this case. You took the lead in embracing this guideline, and hopefully you can take the lead in demonstrating to other institutes that how successful you are in implementing these things. Hopefully, we can use you as an example also to influence other countries to adopt and implement the guideline to the countries. To this, I thank you all for participating, and hopefully we can interact more to promote these guidelines. Tana, you have anything to add? If not, I'll pass it back to the...
Well, yeah, thank you everyone for your attention, and hopefully you have some ideas how to bring these 13 SDGs forward in your Sri Lanka. Thank you.
Put it back to you, the organizers. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Architect Thana Chirapawat and Architect Tony Wong, thank you very much for your insightful keynote presentation, shedding more light on the implementation of the COVID guidelines designed for the built environment, and also in our role in making these guidelines concrete and successful. We would also like to invite Architect Professor Thana Chirapawat and Architect Tony Wong to join with us for the rest of the evening as the proceedings take place. Ladies and gentlemen, now we have a musical performance for your entertainment from an artist who is a composer, a musician, and a vocalist, bringing you music that relates to real life in a refreshing philosophical perspective. Please enjoy, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. Good evening to everyone. And I'm thanking you so much for inviting me to be here to sing a couple of songs for you. ඒ වගේම මේ මට ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම අද විශේෂ දවසක් මේ වගේ සොසයිටි එකක් ඉස්සරහා මගේ නිර්මාණ ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න ලැබීම ගැන. හේතුව ඔක්කොම ඉන්න නිර්මාණ ශිල්පියෝ. මම ආකිටෙක්ට්ස් කියන වචනට වැඩිය ඇත්තටම ආසයි ගෘහ නිර්මාණ ශිල්පී කියන. ඒතර නිර්මාණ ශිල්පීන් විශාල ගොන්නක්. ඒකින්ද හරි ලේසි කියලා හිතන ප්‍රශ්නය කරගන්න අපේ හැඟීම්. අපි බලමු මං මුලින්ම මගේ නිර්මාණයත් අපි කවුරුත් ගීතයට ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා. බලමු. පොඩි රිලැක්ස් වෙන්නත් එක්ක ඒකාකාරී ගතියක් තිබුණා නම් ඒකරුත් මිදිලා අපි බලමු. කට විසිරුණු සිතුවිල් දිය බුබුලේ නලියන පෙන කැටි වාගේ නැති හුදකලාවේ තනි වී හිටියක් සිහින ආකරේක වැටුණා වාගේ නිමක් නැ මොහොතින් මොහොතට ගෙවෙන කාලය දැනෙනම කාටත් එක විදිහට හිනියම් මිර සඳ සිසිලස ඔතරේ හොයනවා මේ අපි කවුරුද කල පතරේ අහනව බලනවා මේ අපි කවුරුද ඉඳපැත යන ගොම්මන් යාමේ කරු එක දෙක දිලිසෙන කළු ආකාශේ ගලා ඇදෙන රිද්මේ නැහැවි ඇති යන්නේ ඇතින් ඈතට පාරි සුළඟසේ මොහොතින් මොහොතට ගෙවෙන කාලය සඳ සිසිලස ඔතරේ හොයනවා මේ අපි කවුරුද ඊයකිලෝ සිතුවම් කළ ඔතරේ අහනව බලනවා මේ අපි කවුරුද Thank you. අවසාන වශයෙන් තව එක් ගීතයක් තියෙනවා ඔය. අයි බලමානන්තයට යනවාමයි.
තනියම වෙන්න ඇයි සමහර දුර ඇහෙන දකින දේවල් කොතරම් තිබුණද හදට දැනෙන දේවල් ඇයි එතරම් බර සිරවෙලා නැවතිලා නැතිනා සීමාවක නිදහසේ ඉනිලා යම් එකරැනක
බොහොම ස්තුතියි. ගණන් ගන්න එපා. පොඩි වැරද්දක් වුණා.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very heartfelt thank you to Mr. Senaka Batagoda for that beautiful and enchanting solo performance.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the presentation of scrolls to the fellow members of the SLIA FIA for the year 2021. So in order to present the scrolls, I would like to invite the President of the SLIA, Architect Viranjan Kurukulasurya, SLIA Past President, Architect Chandana Edurisurya, as the presentation party for these set of scrolls. And in order to present these scrolls, I would also like to invite the immediate past president of the SLIA, Architect D.H. Vijayavardhana. If you could please make your way to the stage. Architect Neelanga Veerasekara. Architect Charles Edward Manoharan Ponnaya. Architect Ratnayaka Mudiyanselage Tilakasiri Bandara Ratnayaka. Architect Kandudarachiga Shireka Lakmini. Architect Salinda Rangaratugama. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to thank the SLIA past president Chandana Edurisurya and also the immediate past president of the SLIA, Architect D.H. Vijayavardhana, for joining the presentation party. President Architect Viranjan Kurukulasurya, please remain on stage for the next set of awards. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now be presenting the Ole B. Larsen Memorial Grant. And in order to present this award, I would like to call upon stage SLI past president Architect Jayantha Pereira to join the presentation party. The best overall performance in Part 3 examination of the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects for the year 2020, Ms. Yashika Indunil Narampanavar. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to thank past president, Architect Jayantha Pereira, for joining in with the presentation party. I would also like to invite to give the next set of awards, which is the Asia Young Designer Award awarded by Nippon Paint Lanka. Past President of SLI, please remain on stage for the next set of awards as well. And I would like to invite the Senior Vice President of the SLI, Architect Russell Dandenian, to be part of the presentation party. And also to present the awards, I would like to invite past President Ranjan Nadesa Pillai to join the presentation party. Ladies and gentlemen, To also join the presentation party, I would like to invite Mr. Mihiran Opatha, Head of Sales of Nippon Paint Lanka Private Limited, and also Mr. M. Raju, Corporate Sales Manager of the Nippon Paint Lanka Private Limited, to give away the awards. Before the presentation of the award, I would also like to mention the official jurors for the jury panel: Architect Russell Dandeniya, Architect Rehan Tilakaratna, Architect Hiranti Velendava, Architect Sunil Gunawardana, Architect Sagara Jayasinghe, and Architect Palinda Kannangara. The National Gold Award in Architecture category for the Best Design Impact at the Asia Young Designer Award of 2019, Mr. Chandima Gavaramman of the University of Moratual. The Gold Award in the Architecture category for the year 2020 at the Asia Young Designer Award, Ironi Padma Peruma from the City School of Architecture. The Gold Award in Interior Design for the year 2020. The Design category of Interior Design at the Asia Young Designer Award, Dilik Abekon from the City School of Architecture. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to thank the presentation party, the SLI President Architect Viranjan Kulakurasuriya, past President Ranjan Naresipilla, and also the SLI Senior Vice President Architect Russell Dandeniya, and also to Mr. Mihiran Opatha, Head of Sales of Nippon Paint Lanka Private Limited, and Mr. M. Z. Raju, the Corporate Sales Manager of Nippon Paint Lanka Private Limited, for joining with the presentation party. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a short video presentation from the Nippon Paint Lanka Nippon Awards 2021 cycle.
Asia Young Designer Awards by Nippon Paint is one of the longest running and largest student design awards in Asia. 14 years in the making, AYDA has worked closely with more than 1,200 educational institutions and have received more than 35,000 entries. AYDA has worked closely with professionals to help forge a closely knitted design community with the purpose of helping improve lives and communities. It is truly about cultivating the next generation of designers. If you're currently an architectural or interior design student, it's your time to shine. Help the world see designers who are able to envision the future of spatial design, which addresses the evolving needs of communities while factoring in critical environmental and significant cultural factors. Your design has to be emphatic and innovative while addressing problems faced by both mankind and our natural environment. It is your $1 million idea that will land you the title of the Asia Young Designer of the Year, which is worth up to $10,000 alongside a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to attend an all-expenses-paid 6-week design discovery program at Harvard University's Graduate School of Design. On top of that, you will gain access to a network of AYDA alumni across Asia to help strengthen your perspectives and connections around the world. So, here's what we are looking for. Design concept. A design that fulfills an innate human need or helps solve a problem. Functionality. A versatile design that supports people, activities, and changes in life. Design innovation. A design which maximizes or leverages tech-enabled connectivity and/or intelligence. Sustainability and relevance. A design which comprises of sustainable and eco-friendly elements which help preserve the natural environment. Aesthetic and visual impact. A design which is aesthetically pleasing and effectively integrates social and cultural aspects for the users. Color usage. A design which showcases a brilliant display of balance between colors, materials, and design outputs. Delivery and presence. We look forward to having you at the national and international finals, where you will be delivering your ideas in front of a panel of professional judges. Will you be the next Asia Young Designer of the Year? Good luck and see you there! Join the Asia Young Designer Awards via www.asiayoungdesignerawards.com or follow us on LinkedIn. Or simply speak to your lecturers or faculty members who are involved. We hope to have you join the AYDA community. Good luck!
Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin to move on to the next set of presentation of awards, I would like to announce the winners of the Best Newspaper Supplement of the SLIA 2021. Winners of the Award of Excellence in the category of English Language awarded to Daily Mirror of the Vijay newspapers. Also awarded to the Daily News of Lake House Associate Newspapers of Ceylon Limited. The Award of Excellence in the category of winners in the language of Sinhala awarded to Maubima of Maubima newspapers. Winners of the Award of Merit in the language of Tamil awarded to Veera Kesari of the Express newspapers Ceylon Limited. The runners-up in the category of Sinhala awarded to Aruna of Daily Aruna newspapers, and also a few special appreciations in the category of English awarded to the Morning of Daily Aruna newspapers, and in the language of Tamil awarded to the Udayan of BDM Udayam newspapers. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the presentation of the SLI Award Cycle for the year 2020-2021. In order to present the following awards, I would like to call upon the President of the SLI, Architect Viranchan Kurukulusurya, and I would also like to invite Architect Pinya Samarthunga on behalf of the jury panel to read the citation for the awards of excellence in each category, and the jury special award and the award for the Young Architect of the Year 2021. Before we present these awards, it is my pleasure to introduce the official jurors for the Architecture Awards of 2021. Architect Russell Dandini, Chairman of the Award Committee. The official jurors, Architect Rahul Malhotra as the International Juror, Past President Architect Jayanta Pereira, Past President Architect Chandanedra Surya, Architect Hiranti Velandava, Architect Vinod Jayasinghe, Architect Sunil Gunawardana, Architect Sagar Jayasinghe, and Architect Pinya Samarthunga. Also, the official jurors of the Technical Evaluation Committee for these awards, Architect Sashikala Ranasinghe, Architect Anuj Patinayaka, and Architect Bhagya Jayatilaka. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to present these awards, I would like to invite the past president of SLI, Architect Jayanta Pereira, to also join in with the presentation party. Ladies and gentlemen, if the presentation party can make way to the stage before we begin the design awards. I would once again announce the names: the SLI President Architect Viranchan Kurukulusurya and also the past President Architect Jayanta Pereira for Design Awards. In the category of Design Awards, shortlisted nominee, The Nest, a suburban house by architect Chamikara Moses. Shortlisted nominee, Leisure Point at Medicine, architect Sudesh Nanayakar. Shortlisted nominee, Cozy's Canvas by architect Kosala Veerasekara. The recipient is not here to receive the award, and on behalf of him we would have Mr. Christopher Pereira accept the award on behalf of architect Kosala Veerasekara. Honorable mention, Ravi's residence at Piliyandala, architect Shanaka Abevikrama. Award of Merit, The Box House by architect Malisha. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Award of Merit, Wellness Resort at Habarana, architect Palinda Kannangara. Award of Merit, The Box House, architect Malisha Kodithuakku. Award of Merit, Renovation of a Dwelling to a Nightclub, 206 Music Factory, architect Chamikara Moses. Award of Merit, personalized residence at Kalalgoda, Sri Lanka, architect Damit Prematilaka. In the category of Design Awards, the Award of Excellence will be awarded next. I would like Architect Pinya Samarathunga to read out the citation, but beforehand, I would announce the award. Super Shop and Multipurpose Hall, Architect Asokan Sridharan. Architect Pinya Samarathunga, please.
The Super Shop and Multipurpose Hall has employed an unusual combination of multipurpose hall and a shop, creating an unusual hybrid program of commercial and community activity. This combination has the potential to harnessing the community engagement in a broader spectrum of possibilities, from chance encounter to more deliberate community gatherings. The scale of the building is well calibrated to ensure the large volumes of the multipurpose hall within. It does not impact the street visually, while simultaneously providing intimacy for community activities such as the multipurpose open stage and resting place for people and a children's play area within. One could imagine the interesting ways such as space could draw the broader citizenry to using these spaces and coming together as a community. The use of materials have been sensitively handled, drawing on what is available locally as well as material upcycle from other projects. The use of materials, therefore, is not only sustainable, but also provides a robustness which fits into the local context and accommodates the skills development program the architect has used, engaging the local community. The language does not fetishize details and sits well in its context of a farming community, creating a strong sense of place.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Award of Excellence for the Super Shop and Multipurpose Hall, Architect Asokan Sridharan. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to thank the past president of the SLI, Architect Jayantha Perera, for joining in with the presentation party. President, Architect Viranjan Kulukurasule, please remain on stage for the next set of design awards in the category of color awards. And in order to present these awards, I would like to invite the past president of SLI, Architect Professor Lalit De Silva, on stage to join the presentation party. Shortlisted nominee in the category of Color Awards, a renovation of a dwelling to nightclub 206 Music Factory by architect Chamikara Moses. Award of Merit, renovation of Indra Hardware by architect Gayan Herat. Ladies and gentlemen, the Award of Excellence in the Color Awards category, citation to be read by architect Pinya Samarathunga, and the award will go to Leisure Point at Merissa by architect Sudesh Nanayakara.
The Leisure Point uses color derived from the wide range of materials the architect has selected, specifically in order to fit in to the context of the seafront, a context which comprises of diverse activities such as fishing and the waterscape experience. The project skillfully negotiates these disparities to create a memorable space through its subtle employment of architecture of visual porosity. The range of materials vary from recycled containers, railway sleepers, and a range of other new materials, all of which act in cohesion and sensitively weave together to create a unique experience, celebrating color in the beachfront Leisure Point at Merissa.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Award of Excellence in the category of Color Awards, Leisure Point at Merissa by architect Sudesh Nanayakara. We'll now be presenting the jury's special award for socially responsible architecture. And I would also like to invite architect Pinya Samarathunga to read the citation. But before that, I would also like to thank the past President Architect Professor Lalit De Silva for joining the presentation party. Thank you very much, sir. And I would like architect Viranjan Kulakurasuriya, the President of SLI, to please remain on stage for the next award as well. And I would like to invite to present this award the past President of SLI, Architect Planner Deshamani Dr. Surat Vikramasinghe. Please make your way on stage, sir. If you could make your way on stage, sir. The citation for this award will be read by architect Pinya Samarathunga, and she will also give the background to why this special award was created. The award will go to the Super Shop and Multipurpose Hall by architect Ashok and Sridharan.
Before I read out the citation, on behalf of the Design Awards jury panel, I would like to make a note regarding this award which we are about to present. The use of materiality in the local context of the ordinary people and the aspirations are absorbed and highlighted in this project, and the jury identified exceptional appropriateness clearly in local uniqueness in society with regard to community-based architecture. Therefore, the jury unanimously decided to present a special award for the contribution to social responsibility, thereby to also further encourage future design award submissions of this nature, and most importantly, to pronounce that as an institute responsible for the built environment of our nation, we do understand and recognize the sensitivities which preserve cohesiveness and the cultural identities of communities who live simple lives, harmonious with its surroundings and its values. Citation: a project which reaches out far beyond architecture is a direct reflection of the contribution to the livelihoods of the ordinary people in the community who are bound very strongly to its context for generations. Native material use through available labor, direct yet unimposing connections to the context, and the ability to impact the entire community revolving around simple and basic lifestyles has reached out broadly, pronouncing a strong, hence compassionate message to our society at large.
Ladies and gentlemen, the jury special award for socially responsible architecture, Super Shop and Multipurpose Hall by architect Asokan Sridharan. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now like to thank the past president of the SLIA Architect Planner, Deshamani Dr. Surat Vikram Singh, for joining the presentation party. President of SLIA, if you could please remain for the next set of awards as well. In order to present the Research and Publication Awards for the year 2001, I would like to call upon the immediate past president of the SLIA, architect D.H. Vijayavardhana, and the Senior Vice President of the SLIA, architect Russell Dandenier, to join the presentation party. Before we present these awards, I would like to introduce the official jurors of the jury panel for the Research and Publication Awards. Architect Russell Dandenier, architect Nella de Soisa, architect Chintaka Nikapitiya, architect Dr. Jagat Munasinghe, architect Dr. Gamini Vijaysurya, and architect Dr. Nilan Kure. The SLIA Research Award for the year 2021, architect Dr. Rizna Arus. The SLIA Publication Award for the year 2021, architect Sagara Jai Singha. The SLI Publications Award for the year 2021, architect Dr. Rizna Arus. I would now like to thank the immediate past president of the SLI, architect D.H. Vijayavardhana, and also to the senior vice president of the SLI, architect Russell Dandenier. President of the SLI, architect Viranjan Kulkarsurya, could you please remain on stage to give the next award, which is the Young Architects Award for the year 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, for this award, I would like to invite architect Pinya Samarathunga to read out the citation.
Chamikara Moses graduated from the University of Moratuwa in 2008 with an MSc in architecture. Starting his professional journey at Team Architrave Chartered Architects, Moses recently founded his own practice, Make Architecture Studio Private Limited. He approaches his varied scale projects with a contemporary outlook and a sustainable stance. In 2019, he won the SLIA design competition for the proposed new building for the City School of Architecture. Moses has been a visiting lecturer and a design tutor at the University of Moratuwa, City School of Architecture, and General Sir John Kothawala Defence University.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Young Architect of the Year 2021, Architect Chamikara Moses. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend a very big thank you to our President of the SLI, Architect Viranjan Kulukurusurya, for joining the presentation party. Next is the presentation of the special award for the Sri Lanka Institute of Architects for the year 2021. Citation for this award will be read by the President of SLI, Architect Viranjan Kulukurusurya. So if you could please make your way to the podium.
Thank you. The Council of Sri Lanka Institute of Architects has decided to present a special award to architect Revata Amarasekara in view of the enormous contribution he made towards the activities of the Institute and especially the professional affairs. In particular, his contribution for finalizing the documents vital for a practice and the help desk system are noted. These include handbook on best practices, role of sub-consultancies, architect's role and scope of services, etc. The SLI special award to architect Revata Amarasekara.
Ladies and gentlemen, in order to present this award, I would like to invite the past president of SLIA, Professor Lalit De Silva, to come on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the special award for the year 2021. May I invite Architect Revata Amarasekara to receive the award. Ladies and gentlemen, I would now be pleased to invite Architect Revata Amarasekara to speak a few words to the audience.
Thank you. Thank you, President and Council of the Institute of Architects, as well as all the members for honoring me with this award. I, of course, never expected this because I've always believed in making a contribution as a team effort, right? So I accept this award not only on my behalf, but on behalf of all the other members who have assisted me over the years, so many years, in assisting me to make various contributions to the institute. And also I'm privileged to hear the citation from the President of the SLI himself. Thank you for that, Mr. President. So I've always been watching how the institute and the council has been working. Sometimes my comments have not been so full of praise. So whether I receive an award or not, I will make my comments as they come. Anyway, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Architect Revath Amarasekar, the recipient of the special award for the year 2021. And I would also like to thank SLI past President, Professor Lalit De Silva, for presenting this award. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we have the presentation of the Lifetime Achievement Award. And in order to read the citation for the Lifetime Achievement Award, I would also again like to invite Architect Viranjan Kulukursurya, the President of the SLIA.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. No, it's okay. Deshamanya Dr. Surat Wickramasinghe, an architect planner, graduated from the Polytechnic London, University of Westminster, and the University of Moratuwa, Sri Lanka. His multidisciplinary firm commemorates 50 years as Surat Wickramasinghe Associates, an award-winning practice in Sri Lanka. Surat is a highly celebrated personality in Asia with significant leadership contributions in a multitude of fields. Surat obtained his corporate membership in the SLIA in 1971 and his membership number was 0025. In 1972, Surat was invited to join SLIA Council. He was subsequently appointed Honorary Secretary between 1973 and 1976. The significant achievement by SLIA during that period was the enactment of the Architects Law No. 1. SLIA Incorporation Bill by the National State Assembly in 1976. The glory of this achievement should be extended to all the past presidents at that time. Surat also established connections with Acacia between 1975-76 period, when he was one of the delegates from the SLIA who attended the Acacia Council meeting held in Singapore. In 1982, Surat was elected the Vice President, and it was also the Silver Jubilee year of SLIA. The SLIA President was late Architect Lala Aditya. To coincide with this event, it was Surat's vision to promote the image of the architect by organizing a comprehensive program of activities. The events included the first SLIA annual sessions, and to support this event, members' work, building products and trade exhibition. Also included was a public affairs forum to discuss construction industry issues, followed by the first architects' ball. To achieve this mammoth task, under his leadership, a vibrant steering committee of council members was formed. They were entrusted with different functions connected with these events. It was held at the BMICH with the table trade exhibition located in the main exhibition area, the members' work exhibition at the main entrance lobby, and the formal inauguration was held at the main hall and was inaugurated by His Excellency J.R. Jayawardena, President of Sri Lanka. This was the first occasion that a head of state participated in a SLIA event. His Excellency was overwhelmed by the variety of work produced by the SLIA members and commended the SLIA. Also present at the inauguration were several senior cabinet ministers, diplomats, and other dignitaries. At the inception of the above event in 1982, the SLIA had no funds, and several council members were apprehensive about this ambitious venture. However, this huge challenge was achieved by the dedication and commitment of the steering committee members, who even went to the extent of advancing funds for this event. The Public Affairs Forum was inaugurated by Honorable Anand Tissadi Alvis, the Speaker of the Parliament. Several secretaries of key ministries such as Finance and Construction participated. It also included leading contractors, consultants, and other stakeholders. The spin-off after paying other expenses was a net of surplus of 850,000 rupees. This was an amazing achievement and could be considered the turning point of SLIA's fortunes. In 1983, Surat became the president of the SLIA. In the picture, architect Surat being congratulated by the immediate past president of the SLIA, architect Lala Aditya. During Surat's first year as president in 1983, the chief guest was Honorable Ranasinghe Premadasa, Prime Minister of Sri Lanka. Once again, it was the first time that a Prime Minister of the country visited an SLIA event. Surat continued the same Silver Jubilee celebrations program and made it a formidable entity. In his second year of the presidency, if I am not mistaken, he made the presidency, which was of 1 year duration, into a 2-year term. So in his second year of presidency, the program for the annual sessions and connected activities remained the same, but the chief guest was Honorable Lalit Athulat Mudali. The annual sessions is now identified as the annual national conference in architecture and has become a huge boost to the architects, new and senior members of the SLIA. The outcome of this is that the members were able to hear and witness the work of global iconic architects invited by the SLIA for the sessions. The exhibitions became a popular event, not only for the members but also for the public, to get exposed to the recent works of architects, students, new building materials, and products. The crowning glory of this event has made SLIA to be professionally and financially one of the strongest institutes in Sri Lanka. This success has enabled SLIA to have their own headquarters building, School of Architecture, and provide the members several welfare career development opportunities as well as service to society by undertaking many community service responsibility activities. In 1983 to 1985, Surat, as President SLIA, initiated the competition to select an architect for the SLIA headquarters building. However, due to the location being changed, a new design was done by the same architect for the current SLIA building. The part-time School of Architecture was another achievement during his presidency. In 1983 to 1989, at a time when foreign architects were preferred to the locals, Surat, by his many speeches and writings, promoted the local architects and the role they could play in Sri Lanka's development. Surat and his council made many other changes to modernize the institute and its activities. 1989. During 1983 to 1989, Surat is a pioneer in urban regeneration in Sri Lanka. His concept for the Panchikavata Triangle development in 1989 was accepted by the then government for implementation on a PPP model. Unfortunately, due to it being during the height of the Northeast conflict, it was difficult to source an investor or developer. 1987 to 1990. Among his other achievements, the following could be considered relevant to mention. Surat became the youngest and the first SLIA member to be the president of the Organization of Professional Associations in 1987. In 1990, for his contributions to architecture and the professions, the President of Sri Lanka, Honorable Ranasinghe Premadasa, conferred the national honor title Deshabandhu Class 1. Within 1 year, OPA became a vibrant organization, with the groundbreaking activities now being continued. (1996 to 1998) and 2016. Surat was elected the Chairman Architects Regional Council Asia, or ARC-Asia, comprising 17 Asian countries in 1996. Under his leadership, he enhanced ARC-Asia to a new dimension with new policies and by interacting with the Union of International Architects, UIA. Having been an advisor for 16 years, he was recently awarded the ARC-Asia Past President's Gold Medal. In Surat's absence, I was the person who collected the award. In 1988, for his contributions to the advancement, protection, and elevation of architecture, he was awarded an honorary fellowship by the Royal Australian Institute of Architects in 1998, being the first member of SLIA to be so honored. In 2002 to 2008 period. In 2002, SLIA awarded him an honorary fellowship, and in 2008, the highest honor the SLIA can bestow, the Gold Medal. An international developer made a proposal to the Urban Development Authority for a part development of the President Square incorporating the GOH, police headquarters, and the CID building. The concept was to revitalize the port area, promote cruise ships, new hotels, and provide a world-class entertainment and a leisure center similar to the Clarke Quay in Singapore. However, due to the government owner of the GOH being reluctant to negotiate on a reasonable basis, the project was dropped by the client. Pro Vice Chancellor, University of Westminster, London, conferred the degree of Doctor of Letters, D.Litt, in 2012 for his eminence, attainments, and contributions to architecture and other fields. In 2014, Colombo is in urgent need of a hub for entertainment, leisure, and recreation activities. The dock at the Old Parliament was a mixed development proposal made by Surat in 2014 to the then Secretary of Defense and Urban Development. The land is bordering the Beary Lake Reservation behind the Parliament and extending up to the Hilton Hotel car park. The government's change and the project did not materialize. In 2016, appreciation of his contributions to the OPA, he was conferred a lifetime award for outstanding contributions to the professions and the nation. By 2001, the economy and the construction industry were on a downturn. It was Surat, with a view to generating more work for architects, who initiated action by inviting the allied professional associations, including SLIA and the Contractors Association, to consolidate all the available resources to make representations to the decision makers. In 2017, Surat was elected founder president of the Chamber of Construction Industry Sri Lanka, CCI. He made it a powerful organization, and construction industry thrived. After 16 years as president, Surat stepped down and was presented a lifetime award for his contributions to the construction industry. In 2000, Surat was conferred the national honor title Desamanya, which means pride of the nation, by the President of Sri Lanka, His Excellency Maithripala Sirisena, in 2019. Surat is still very active at work, but when it comes to Friday, he leaves Colombo to his beach house at Talahena near Negombo. It is an ideal location since it is easy to reach even during heavy traffic. He has several interests besides taking a break, as he enjoys walking in the beach or in the garden. In addition, he is keen on horticulture and has designed a mini golf facility to practice his favorite sport. I also take great pride in the achievements of architect planner Surat Wickramasinghe, because I believe he was from Thurston College, and so am I. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Council of Sri Lanka Institute of Architects has resolved to bestow the Lifetime Achievement Award to past President Deshamanya Dr. Surat Wickramasinghe. I present to you the Lifetime Achievement Award winner this year, Deshamanya Dr. Surat Wickramasinghe.
I would like to invite the President of the SLI, Architect Viranjan Kulkurusurya, to give away the award for the presentation of the Lifetime Achievement Award. And I would also like to call upon the recipient of the award, Architect, Planner Dr. Deshamanya Surat Wickramasinghe.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the final presentation of awards for this awards ceremony or the inauguration ceremony. And we have now arrived to the end of our proceedings. Ladies and gentlemen, before we end this ceremony, I would like to call upon Architect Planner Deshamane Dr. Surat Vikramasinghe to give his acceptance speech and speak a few words to the audience. Ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. President, Viranjan Kurukula Surya, past presidents, members of the council, architects, ladies and gentlemen. I am greatly honored that the SLIA have honored me with the Lifetime Achievement Award. Actually, this was, I won't say, it is a surprise because it was only last Monday when the President Viranjan called me and he said that the council has decided to award me this Lifetime Award and whether I would accept it. So I said, of course I'll accept it. But I asked him, what about saying something? What about, you know, do you want any material or isn't it too short a period? Why didn't, then he said, no, this is a surprise. So I was unable to do much. But he said that there will be an architect contacting me and that I will have to tell that architect whatever I wanted to. And the young architect who appeared was my dear friend, Rehan Tilakaratna. I don't know whether he's here or not. He's here. Anyway, actually, Mr. President, these things cannot be, it's not a one-man show that one could achieve all these work for the SLIA. It is a huge, mammoth team effort. And I was very fortunate in having that lovely team, brilliant team. And they all were committed, they were vibrant. And I think out of that team, I think only young Jayanta at that time, he was there in the council. I can't see anybody else here. But I think Jayanta will agree that it was a huge challenge and we managed to achieve what we started. Mr. President, once again, and the Council, thank you very much for having given me this great honor. And I wish the SLIA all the best. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Award, Architect Planner Deshamane Dr. Surat Vikramasinghe, for his immense contributions to this institution and also to the world of architecture and other professions. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we have now come to the end of our proceedings for this evening. So in order to conclude this event, I would like to invite the Senior Vice President of the SLI, Architect Russell Dandania, to deliver the vote of thanks.
It's a long day, I think. Time to go without listening to the vote of thanks, but anyway, I have to do it. President of SLIA, members of Council, past presidents, presidents of Acacia, perhaps friends in Acacia connecting us online, chairman of boards and committees, distinguished speakers, members of the panel of jurors of the awards, chairmen of the committees of the sessions, honored recipients of award, our valued sponsors, guests, newly elected corporate members and their parents in the last session, and my dear members. It is my great pleasure to propose the vote of thanks at the inauguration ceremony of the annual sessions 2021 of the SLIA. A seemingly difficult year, I would say, but positively and proactively, we decided to have this event a hybrid one. It is my duty to officially thank the people in front and behind the screen with enormous opportunities made for every one of you to participate physically as per the health regulations or online comfortably from your homes or safer places. I would like to make an initial remark that we architects as design and construction professionals have to bring back the lost momentum into the construction industry as soon as possible. We need all the help from the state, specifically during this difficult period, as well as other stakeholders in this regard. We do have great expectations of future possibilities after this pandemic, although the current trend is gloomy. But we all have to be very positive and strong and ready to move forward under any circumstances. Only existence will be living with this virus and face to it and progress of the parallel constructions and developments. Let me thank our friends from Acacia, Architect Tony Wong, Director AEA, and Architect Thana Chirapiwat, member from CSR, both are co-conveners of 13 ACGs to accept our invitation, and the tremendous contribution made to present the guidelines today is enormously useful for Sri Lankan architects and architecture. A wonderful match for this year's theme, the social responsibility of the architect. My thanks to you both for your wonderful keynote presentation. Let me thank our past presidents, past councils, and members for all their endeavors throughout the past to shape and enhance our institute to its position today and the status. Thank you for being here with us today, physically and online. Dear past presidents and past council members. Special thanking go to Chairman Inauguration Committee, Architect Anuka Vettasinghe, Co-Chair Nafla Fahim, and the team for organizing today's event in such a grand style and using state-of-the-art technological connectivity online. Thank you, Anuka, and your team for your wonderful work. The National Conference, commencing tomorrow, will deliberate on the social responsibility of the architect. With great power comes great responsibility. A variety of dialogues viewed from the perspective of an allied panel of experts. It will encompass topics as planetary existence and global sustainability, nation state and community, the professional duty of care. So I would like to thank in advance all the contributors and the eminent panel of speakers at tomorrow's National Conference for their rich and collective explosion of ideas. I also wish to thank the Chairman Conference Committee, Architect Dr. Senaka Dharmatilaka, and his excellent team for an informative, timely, and passionate modern conference tomorrow. Further, let me offer my heartfelt congratulations to all award winners. I am also happy to recognize the hard work done by all the members who served on the panels of jurors in selecting award recipients. For award winners, thank you all for your active participation. For jurors, thank you very much for your deliberations during the jury process. And let me thank for those who received scroll as members today afternoon session, our future architects who are responsible for future built environment of Sri Lanka. Our appreciation goes to the architect Channa Vijayawardena, Channa Upuli Performing Arts Foundation for their breathtaking performance opening dance act. Artist Mr. Senaka Batagoda, music at song. Our appreciation extends to Kampiya, Farah Kasta, for usherers, architects and students volunteering today, and the general manager and the staff of SLIA, as well as the management of Kingsbury, our hospitality partner, official travel partner, Holiday Plan DMC, media personnel, print, digital, and online media. Chief Medical Officer of Health, Mr. Ruan Vijayamuni, for assisting us and guiding us for COVID-19 health and safety precautions, and AV partner Event Cloud. Thank you all for your wonderful contribution. My special thanks go to all our sponsors, including strategic sponsor Nippon Paint, and associate sponsor Lanka Tile, and event sponsors Alumax, Swisstech Aluminium, and their representatives for the generous support extended for the SLIA annual sessions. Fellow associates, graduates, student members of the Institute, and architectural licentiates joining physically and online, general public at large who are joining live stream via Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube channels. Thank you so much for your enthusiasm joining with us today, being in a wonderful audience online. I will conclude with this note by Caesar Pelli. I am an architect who builds, and therefore I am an optimist. Being an optimist is a prerequisite for anybody who wants to build, because construction is a matter of optimism. It's a matter of facing the future with confidence. Let us join hands to build our great nation, a safer Sri Lanka with 13 ACGs implementation as our social responsibility. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay strong. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the Senior Vice President of the SLI, Architect Russell Dandeni, for the vote of thanks. And ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this ceremony, and we would also be pleased to invite you all to join us on the 18th, which is tomorrow, for the first ever Sri Lanka Institute of Architects National Conference, to be held on a digital platform from 2 p.m. onwards, Sri Lankan time. Thank you all for gracing this occasion, and hope you all have a wonderful day and stay safe. Ladies and gentlemen, the cocktail after this event would take place post the event and in 2 locations, the Balmoral and the Garden Foyer. And we invite you all who have graced this occasion to join with us. And we would like to request that you all maintain social distancing as per the guidelines, and please follow the instructions when leaving the hall. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you have a wonderful evening.